Welcome to the Backlash at Backlash.com. My name is Rod Van Mecklin, and in this video I'm going to read excerpts from Part 4 in my series on rape, When Consensual Sex is Really Rape. Starting with second-wave feminist Susan Brown Miller's book, Against Our Will, feminists have made several specious generalizations about rape. And so I wrote several chapters in my first book to address some of them. Here is the fourth of them, the full text of which is linked below with the sources cited. 1991, Bellevue, Washington. Sex with someone too young is statutory rape, even if both parties consent. Despite this, feminists so esteem female sexuality above male sexuality that most consider boys who are induced to have sex with adult women lucky, rather than the victims of rape they really are. This attitude was, and in many ways still is, so pervasive that even definitions of statutory rape excluded women. Quote, "This term, statutory rape, refers to the legal proscription existing in most countries against a man's taking sexual advantage of a child, a mental defective, or other person presumed to lack comprehension of the physical and other consequences of sexual intercourse." Close quote. That was from Britannica Micropedia, Volume 9, page 941, 1986. Despite that this definition is biased against men, it highlights how consensual sex can be rape. But feminists have gone beyond this to define two new cases where they consider consensual sex rape: economic need and reluctant consent. During World War II, fewer American GIs engaged in rape, that is, non-consensual sex, than the Nazis, Communists, Japanese, and Moroccans. But Susan Brown Miller rejected that, asserting American GIs are guilty of rape by virtue of the European prostitute's economic need. And she wrote, quote, "Free enterprise, the murky line that divides wartime rape from wartime prostitution, cannot be cleanly delineated. The lure of the dollar to starving women in war-torn liberated countries was coercion enough." Close quote. So does that mean that our need to have food, clothing, and shelter, cars, cable, and all that good stuff is coercion to make us go to work? Well, that's what a socialist or a cultural Marxist or a leftist would say. And I'm none of those things. This arrogance presumes two things. First, that the American GIs were responsible for their victims' destitution, and second, that they were morally obligated to help their, quote, victims, close quote. Obviously, American GIs were not responsible for the destitution of the war-torn liberated countries. To assert otherwise is naive at best. But shouldn't we expect generosity of Americans? Well, sure. But need, as Ayn Rand pointed out, is not a license to steal. The European prostitutes and American GIs exchanged value for value, money or food, and sex. The GIs felt a deep need for sexual closeness, the warmth of a woman, the prostitutes for food and money. Their trade was to mutual benefit. If this was rape, then it was mutual, with the GIs guilty of economic coercion and the prostitutes guilty of sexual coercion. Which is absurd, but then so are the feminists. Naturally, feminists will reject this because in their world only men are ever to blame. The idea reluctant consent makes sex rape also assumes this. Only men are responsible, not women. That is, what a woman felt or thought counts for everything. What she did counts for little or nothing. Feminists believe women are victims by definition. Thus, a woman who reluctantly consents to have sex is a victim of rape, while a man who does the same is guilty of exercising poor judgment. By the same token, feminists believe that women who impair their judgment with alcohol are victims. If they drink and then engage in a coupling they later regret, they can cry rape. And even if they don't cry rape, then feminists will say, yeah, you were raped. May men do the same, get drunk, get laid, feel regret, and cry rape? While few would take men's allegations of rape seriously, there is no reason to doubt many men have, in this sense, been raped. Years ago, when I was in college, my buddies used to speak of a secret fear, the fear that they would go to a bar one Friday night, get drunk, and then wake up the next morning in the arms of some female equivalent of a dirty old man. This is commonly referred to as Coyote Ugly. No, not the movie. The term refers to the idea that a woman is so ugly that the morning after, a man would gnaw off his arm to get away from her. I had friends this happened to. No, they didn't gnaw off their arms, but they had sex with a woman who, the following morning when they sobered up and saw who they had slept with, they felt violated. Ooh, icky! Like these women had taken advantage of them. This clearly demonstrates men may, while suffering from impaired judgment, engage in sexual intercourse they later regret. Whatever, it's part of life. Get over it. That's what you say to a man. To a woman you say, "Oh, you poor dear, you've been raped." That's what feminists say. If such makes women victims of rape, then only prejudice, sexism, feminists would prevent us from recognizing that men may with equal legitimacy claim the same. Now, as I was editing the text of this article for the video, I had a thought, a hypothetical question, which I posted on Twitter. Here's what I wrote. 2 lesbians walk into a bar, get drunk, hook up, have sex, and the following morning, both of them regret it. Which one got raped, and which one was the rapist? That's all for now. Check out the other videos, subscribe to the channel. For the Backlash at Backlash.com, my name is Rod Van Mechelen.